Never before seen shapes up to 1,300 feet long discovered beneath Antarctica ice. The unusual patterns found beneath West Antarctica's Dotson ice shelf could help scientists to better understand how glaciers erode. And this is visualization of the sand dune shaped ice structures found on the underside of the Dotson ice shelf. This is from Filip, Stedt, University of Gothenburg. Scientists have discovered never before seen patterns floating beneath the floating ice shelf in Antarctica following the expedition to create the most detailed picture ever of the glacier's underside. The strange teardrop shapes were discovered below Dotson ice shelf in West Antarctica in 2022 when a remotely operated vehicle, the ROV, dove 10 miles underneath the glacier and traveled more than 600 miles along the underside of the ice. The researchers published their findings for the first of its kind survey Wednesday, July 31st in the journal Science Advances. And in order to understand the ice cycle in Antarctica and how ice gets from the continent into the ocean, we need to understand how it melts from beneath, a process that is equally important as calving for moving land ice to the ocean, study lead author Anna Wallin, professor of oceanography, University of Gothenburg, said. Dotson ice shelf is a 30-mile wide chunk of floating ice, 7 times the size of New York City. Located on the coast of Mary Bird Land in West Antarctica, it's part of the West Antarctic ice sheet, which has dramatically calved glaciers that could cause sea levels to rise by approximately 11 feet if they eventually drive the entire sheet to collapse. Steady erosion is nibbling away at the fringes of the ice shelf, with warm ocean water infiltrating its undersides and unpinning it from the land, making its eventual collapse inevitable, previous studies have shown. To further investigate the processes threatening the 1,150-foot thick ice shelf, the researchers sent the ROV below the ice to scan the glacier's underside with sonar, building up the most extensive and complete picture of the glacier's underside ever. Much as the scientists expected, the survey showed that the glacier is melting faster at the points where underwater currents are eroding its base, and fractures running through the glacier are helping to the melt to travel up to the surface. But unexpectedly, they also discovered that instead of being smooth, the glacier's base is flecked with teardrop shapes emerging from peaks and valleys in the ice. Some of these shapes are up to 1,300 feet long. The researchers believe these weird patterns are created by uneven melting as water moves with Earth's spin across the glacier's underside. And if you look closely at the shapes, they are not symmetrical. They are bent a bit like blue mussels. And the reason for that asymmetry is Earth's rotation, Wallen said. Water moving on Earth is subject to something called the Coriolis force, which is acting to the left of the direction of motion in the southern hemisphere. When you see the water turning as it goes down the drain in the northern hemisphere, it turns the opposite side of what it turns in the southern hemisphere. So if we are correct, there is a force balance in the layer closest to the ice where friction is balanced by the Coriolis force. Yeah, and if you're on the equator, it just goes directly down. Now the result is a spiral flow pattern called the Ekman spiral, which is most commonly seen when wind travels over surface water, but can also be created by water traveling over ice. To follow up on the survey, the researchers returned with the ROV January 2024, but the submersible got lost and disappeared beneath the ice shelf. The team's next goal is to return with a new sub and continue surveying the uncharted depths beneath. It takes a lot of energy to melt ice, so all the ice in Antarctica is like a giant temperature stabilizer and an important part of Earth's climate system, Wallen said. If the Antarctic ice sheet were to end up in the ocean at high rates, it can potentially influence sea level rise. So if we learn the upper and lower limits, We can also put limits on future sea level rise. This is by Ben Turner on Live Science. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.